Hi, my name is Rob. This is the Made with Love prepper channel that we're just starting up. We're going to show you how to make homemade wine. We're going to go ahead and show you in reverse order since I have a whole bunch of wine going. We're going to start with bottling wine, and we'll just show a quick video on it. Then we'll show you how to rack wine, and then we'll show you how to make wine to get it started, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff we use for it. This here's the pump. I have bottles that have already been sanitized beneath me. I have an overflow catch because you're going to make a mess. What's really important is that everything that goes into the wine at any step is sanitized. I'll show you the sanitizing solution that I use. It's not the same as using dish soap. You can certainly wash stuff, but you want to make sure you sanitize everything to include your hands. And if you're going to put stuff into your wine, make sure your fingernails are clean and sanitize your hands if the sanitizing solution causes problems. Wear gloves. Sanitize up to about right here on your arm or a little higher. And we'll go ahead and show how to start bottling the wine. This is a simple pump, and it will make a mess and get out of control if you're not careful. So you need to have a mop bucket ready with bleach or whatever you're going to use in it, or have a Swiffer sweeper type thing ready to go with some solution in it, because the next day if you spill any wine, the next day you'll have 5,000 ants on your floor. So let's go ahead and show you how we bottle the wine. I'm going to take the stopcock and the airlock out. This has water in it, and what happens is basically when you're fermenting the wine, it creates gas, and gas comes up through here and bubbles. When it stops bubbling, about 6 to 8 weeks later, depending on the temperature of your house and how much sugar and stuff you put in there, which we'll talk about later, it will stop bubbling, and that basically means it's done. This has already been had the yeast killed with a stabilizing solution called Campden tablets, which we'll go over that in a few minutes. We'll go ahead and get started. Take the stopcock out, and we'll start pumping the wine. Now this here is a plastic carboy, and I'll use buckets, which I'll show you later. But this carboy has a kind of a pyramid in the center. The center is raised up, and so anything that's left over, all the yeast and stuff, which will be like a slag almost in your wine that will make it look not real clear, will be near the edges. So you want your pump to go right down near the center, and we'll just start it. This is really simple, and we'll just start bottling one bottle. We'll do another one, and we'll stop, and then we'll show you how we cork them and everything. So it goes really fast, and it can turn into a mess real quick if you're not paying attention. Go up to right about the neck of the bottle, and you see I already spilled some, and that's how you do it. Okay, so now we're going to show you how to put the cork in the bottle and how to seal it. So in this container right here is sanitizing solution, and you'll get a sanitizing solution like this. This is Star San. This will clean everything. You just like take this cap off, squeeze it, it fills up to a certain line. There's like 6 gallons. Just follow the instructions. It's pretty simple. And you soak your corks in here for about 30 minutes or more. These have actually soaked overnight, but you don't need that long. It's just I got drunk and didn't bottle wine last night, so hey, kill me, whatever. So I put a bowl in here to keep all the corks down. If you have a high quality cork, you just sanitize it and it'll work. But a lower quality cork might not last as long, but soaking it in the sanitizing solution is like a lubricant, and it kind of helps out for the purpose. So when I reach down in here to grab a cork, some of them are a little bit angled on one end and flat on the other. Just put the cork in there like that, and you could like take a hammer or a mallet and tap it in, but we're not going to do that. We have a press that we will use for ours. So these presses are pretty cheap. I think I paid about 12 or 15 bucks for it, I don't remember. Just put it on there, clamp it down, and the cork you can see is seated all the way down. If you don't soak them really well, then sometimes they'll stick up like 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch. Here we have a PVC tube. They come in little things like this. These corks are about $4.75, $4.50 for 30 of them. You can spend like 10 to 12 bucks on corks. They make synthetic ones. They make the ones with a little plastic cap or whatever. I want a regular cork. And then you take one of these PVC tubes. These are $2.60 or something like that for 30. Just put it on top. All right. Then over here you could use heat like a lighter to do this, but it'll look like crap. I want my bottle to look kind of professional, so over here on the stove I have boiling water, And I'm going to use a spoon to hold the cap on. This is only going to take about 10 seconds. That's going to prevent it from sliding around. Just put it in there and just kind of turn the bottle. About 10 seconds. You don't want to go too long because it will split the thing. And just like that, it's done. You see, if you go too long, this will start to split open and it'll look like crap. Okay, so we're doing this video in reverse order. We showed you how to bottle wine. Now we're going to show you how what's called racking wine. And you'll do this 2 to 4, maybe 5 times. I just put this bucket up here, but it still has a bag in there that has all the ingredients in it for flavoring. Normally you would set it up here and let it sit 12 to 24 hours before you do this. We've taken the lid off, which I already pre-popped. And there's a bag in here. If you zoom in, you can see a bag of ingredients with pepper and anise, star anise, and white oat chips. I'm going to put the pump in there, set it down here. This is the first time, so I'm not really too concerned with this. This is a pineapple wine. The first one we did was a strawberry wine. Make sure that the hose is all the way down there, because if you have a loop and it fills up, this thing will flip out and make a huge mess. So we're going to start the wine processing, and this is a flat bottom barrel, a flat bottom bucket, so it's going to pick up a bunch of crap on the bottom as everything goes to the bottom to settle. So you need to do this at least twice, but in some buckets, like this one here we just bottled from, you can see it has a raised center, and all the yeast and all the slag type stuff that will make your wine look cloudy will go around the edge, and you set the, right here in the center when it's raised, you'll set your pump, and that will prevent that. Also, for these buckets, there's a little clamp we could actually do that would go on the edge, and we could raise it up and keep it from going to the bottom. But this is the first racking, it doesn't really matter that much. And in here we have our mesh bag with ingredients that we put in there for flavoring. And this was a 1/4 cup of white oat chips, which we got from the distillery store, a 1/4 cup of peppercorn, and we put 2 to 5 star anise. I usually put 2 or 3. And that's your basic ingredients for a wine, just to give it some depth of flavor. Okay, so you can see inside the bucket now we have just finished racking this bottle of wine. You can see there's a clear spot on the edge where the pump was at, and all that other stuff in there, it looks like mud. That's all the leftovers from the yeast and the sugar and whatever ingredients came out of your bag that you use for flavoring. That's all the stuff that's left over. So what's in the bucket below you now is more clear, and we'll do this 2 or 3 more times. Usually I just do it twice. And one thing I didn't mention, which I kind of messed up on, and give me 1 second. Since I put wood chips and stuff like that in there, normally I'll use a coffee filter, which I'll use a rubber band. I'll put it around the edge of the hose before I rack it the first time, and that will catch like any peppercorns or pieces of wood that came out of the bag in the beginning, and hopefully filter it a little bit more. No one that I know that makes wine does this, but I put a rubber band around it from like asparagus or broccoli from the grocery store, and I just sanitize that for a few minutes and use that to wrap it around there. And this is pretty much sanitary to begin with, so it's no big deal. And then you'll do this a couple times. You only need to do the coffee filter once, and that'll get any big chunks which you can see in the bottom of the bucket. And that's how you rack the wine. And most people do it 2 to 4 times. Once or twice is good to me. I think if you see the stuff in the bottom of the bottle, if you put it in the refrigerator for a day or 2, it will go to the bottom of the bottle, and it won't really mess with it. But if you leave it at room temperature, it'll kind of float around as you pour it. Not a big deal. It makes it look like it's homemade, and I think it kind of adds character to it. Okay, so now we're going to show you the final step, or really the first step. We're doing this in reverse order. This is how you make wine, and you can actually make it in this jug right here. We're making our wine from juice instead of from fruit. If you have fruit, like you have strawberries or blackberries, you can grow them a lot of, or you can get them cheap. It's probably the way to go, but I don't want to really spend a lot of time and effort. My goal is to make my wine as effortless as possible without adding a lot of chemicals. So I need to really add that, I guess, in my statement. So here's a bottle of Ocean Spray, and here's a bottle of Welch's, and these are white peach and peach and white cranberry. So these are 28-ounce bottles. The really important thing is to note that there's no sugar added and there's no preservatives. Preservatives will kill your yeast. So you can't have anything that has preservatives. So you just basically open up the bottle and pour it in. This is not the way we're going to do it, but I'm going to just show you. And we're going to take about 8 bottles. And now you're going to rinse this bottle out, and you're going to fill it up with water, and you're going to store it in your cellar or your pantry or whatever. And that's going to give you a food grade bottle that you have water in it. Maybe it's tap water, but you have emergency supply of water, and that's a good way to store water. Also, if you freeze these, you don't fill them all the way up, and you freeze them, and you throw 2 or 3 of those in your ice chest, and you go out fishing. You don't have to buy ice all the time. Your drinks will stay cold, and when you throw the fish in there, they'll stay cold too. And that's a way to save yourself money. So what you want to do is you want to take one of these bottles, you want to empty it to about here, about 3 cups roughly, pour into the bucket. This is a food grade bucket. Actually, this is a beer making bucket, which you buy at the distillery store. It costs you about 12 bucks. It comes with a lid that has a grommet in it, and then for another $2 you buy one of these airlocks like this, and that keeps bugs from getting in it, and dust and stuff like that. So what you're going to do with this, you're going to go ahead and it takes about 8 of these 28-ounce containers to make about 6 gallons. You're going to go ahead and take yourself a container, and you're going to put about, I'm going to do this over the sink, about 1 to 1.5 cups sugar, which will be plenty. I guess I probably should have thought this through and got a funnel. But you're going to put a funnel over it and you're going to pour the sugar in. I'm going to go ahead and use a metal chopstick I have in here to push the sugar through, since I just ran this container through the sink and it might have some water in it. Push all the sugar through. So for a container like this, you can do 1 cup to 3 cups of sugar, and the amount of sugar has nothing to do with the sweetness at this point, because it's going to ferment. The yeast is going to eat the sugar. So 1 cup is cool. You'll probably get 8 to 10% alcohol, roughly, depending on how much citric acid is in it. If you do 1.5 cups, which is what I found works out pretty well, you'll get about 12% alcohol. If you do 2 cups, you'll get like 15 to 17% alcohol. And if you do 3 cups, you might get 20 to 26% alcohol. It will raise exponentially. It'll go way up. All right. The problem with that is you'll lose flavor, and it'll taste like ass. So if you use Welch's grapefruit juice or Welch's grape juice, it will taste like cheap wine, and it won't have any depth of flavor, and it'll really taste like cheap whiskey and grape juice is what it'll taste like. So you mix this up. This is 1.5 cups of sugar. You shake it up just for about that long. That's good enough. And pour it in your bucket. Now there's still sugar in there. You go to your sink, turn on the hot water, put a 1.5 cups of water in there, hot water, shake it up a few seconds, pour it in. You're going to do this about 8 times, about 8 containers like this. At the end, you're going to take a bag. This one's been soaking. I've used this many times. It's been soaking in sanitizer. In that, you're going to put, I put a peppercorn melony or whatever, assorted peppercorns. I put about a quarter cup in there. I put into that about a quarter cup of wood chips. These are white oak wood chips. Those will go into the bag. These are soaked for like 2 days, but you need to soak them about an hour and rinse them out. And that'll just take care of the fine dust that would come off of it, so you don't have to strain it later when you're racking the wine. And then you can put anything else in there you want. Star anise, I usually put 2 to 3 star anise in there. You have to go to like this, the Hispanic or international section of your store to get that. And then you can put like zest from an orange or a lemon or whatever to add flavor. But my basic flavor is quarter cup of wood chips, white oak chips, quarter cup peppercorn, and 2 to 3 star anise. That's my base flavor. Now this is a peach and white cranberry wine that we're going to do. And it will come out fantastic, I promise you. That's not what we're going to mix in my bag tonight. We're going to do something different. We're going to roast some fruits and vegetables in the oven and do something totally different. I'm going to keep that recipe a secret. But you can do this with pineapple, the white cranberry juice. You can do this with apple and raspberry juice. You can do this with raspberry juice. There's all different flavors. And usually I go with Ocean Spray. You can go with your IGA, which is your Independent Growers Association. I pay about $2.28 to $2.78 a bottle. And I'm going to use 8 bottles. If I go with IGA brand or the generic brand, you're going to go about $2 to $2.28 per bottle. So it's a lot cheaper to go that way. It depends on what you have in your area. It's really simple to do. Once I do this, I will put the bag in there. I will tie the bag off, so I'm not going to put anything in there right now. But this would be your basic bag. You put your ingredients in there. You can put oranges in there, whatever. If you use oranges or anything like that, you want to use the zest, but not the white part. Or you can just cut up the oranges and throw them in there and squeeze the juice in there. But you want to tie it off really loosely so it doesn't allow the wood chips really to escape. And that's the purpose of the, just tie it off like that real loosely. Throw it in there. Let it sit 4 to 6 weeks. Do not put the white part of the orange in there if you zest it, then just squeeze the juice in it. If you cut up the wedges, throw the whole thing in there or whatever. Make sure that you soak your fruits. Take out the stickers that come out of the grocery store. Soak them in the sanitizer for a minute, just because people sneeze and cough and touch fruit in the packing sheds or in the store. Throw it in there, cover it up, and you're going to put airlock on it just like I showed you earlier. It's pretty simple to do. You can do almost any flavor. So 1 cup will give you 8 to 10, maybe as high as 12% alcohol. A cup and a half will give you roughly 12 to 14% alcohol, but it depends on the citrus. If it's high in citrus like pineapple, it's going to be lower. So you want something that's, if the more citrus, the lower the alcohol content will be. Citrus will kill the yeast that's activating the sugar. And if you go with 3 cups of sugar in like grape juice, you're going to get like 20 to 26% alcohol. It's going to taste like crap, but it'll get you there. And that's as simple as making homemade wine. So you can look at a lot of YouTube videos, but really I recommend you go to your local distillery. Check them out, talk to them. They will give you all kinds of hints and tips. And really the customers in there also will be very open with you, and they'll encourage you and teach you what you need to know. You can look at the stuff on YouTube, you can research it on the internet, but face-to-face is going to be your best way of doing this. So 6 gallons, this is a 6-gallon bucket or a 6.5-gallon bucket. It'll make about 25 to 30 bottles of wine, depending on how much you rack and how much slag you get in the bottom. And it's not really a bad thing. Whatever you have excess, have a mason jar set aside like this. Rinse it out, clean it out, sanitize it, store that in your refrigerator with a lid, and you'll have something to let people taste. But just try that, it'll work out for you. I've done about 25 batches so far, and I got 24 gallons going right now at 6-gallon batches. So it's not really worth it to do something small. Go 6 gallons. If you want to just experiment, do a couple jugs like this, and if you do this, you're going to take out 3 cups, about to here, add your sugar and your yeast. You can use regular bread yeast. That'll be okay. It won't be fantastic, but it'll be okay. And you just tighten the lid down and then loosen it up just a little bit. You don't want bugs to get in there. One gnat or one ant in there will destroy the whole thing and turn it into vinegar. So over here I have a packet of actual wine yeast. So you have wine yeast, and you have red wine yeast and champagne yeast and white wine. And these are about 54 cents to about $1 something. I think I paid like 94 cents for those. That'll do 6 gallons. And that will drastically increase the quality of your wine. You'll be amazed. The bread yeast that you can buy just for making bread, like in the grocery store, you can't buy this in the grocery store. It will activate very fast, and it will work. And if you're just playing around with flavors in a small batch, it's fine. But if you really want to do quality, go with the actual wine or champagne yeast. It's definitely going to make a difference. As far as trying to learn to do this stuff, don't worry about playing around with like experiments. Don't do small batches. Like I did a 3-gallon batch, which is like half this size, of a flavor that I thought would be crazy, and it came out fantastic, and I really regretted that I didn't do 6 gallons instead of 3 gallons. So just go big, and if you mess up and you got 2 6-gallon batches, you can just blend the flavors and make a good wine. It's pretty simple, but definitely go check out your local distillery store. Look online. It might be cheaper to buy some of that stuff, but the wine bottles and stuff are about 14 bucks for 12 bottles. That'll make 30 bottles, 25 to 30 bottles out of a 6-gallon batch. You'll pay the cost in shipping, so just go to your local distillery and check them out. I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I'm using the Grog off of 41 Alpha. I definitely recommend you check them out, and they will help you out.
Yep.
So one thing I did not talk about was the hydrometer. This is a hydrometer. It looks like a thermometer. You put it in the bucket, and it'll give you a reading. It's going to float, and it's going to measure your sugar content. It's going to tell you like 20% or whatever. And it's pretty simple, and there's an instruction thing in it. You can buy this and add this later to it. If it touches the size, it will give you a false reading, but you can just put it in the bucket. And you write this down. You should have a 3x5 card or a notebook or something, and write down like how many cups of sugar you put in, how many things of juice, how many ounces or whatever. All the ingredients you put in it, and the date you started it. I don't really do this because I have kind of a photographic memory. But later when you're ready to take this out, so this will go 6 weeks roughly, maybe 8 weeks. Depends on temperature in your house. So if your house is really cold, you're going to store it in your pantry or your garage or whatever. If it's really cold, it's going to take longer. If it's too hot, it's going to go really fast. But it won't be done before 4 weeks, but usually 6 to 8 weeks it'll be done. So near the end, when you're ready to take it out, when you rack it the first time, you're going to sit on a stool and let it just sit there for 12 to 24 hours. And then you're going to rack it, pump it from one bucket to another to get rid of some of the slag and crap at the bottom. And you can put some of the wine in here. You're going to put your hydrometer in there. And then it'll give you a reading, and then you look at your 3x5 card, and you subtract one reading from the other, and that's going to tell you the percentage of alcohol. If you start with 20% and it has 5%, you have 15% alcohol. It's really that simple. But at the end, like I said, the sugar amount you put in there has nothing to do with the sweetness of the wine. It'll become more dry the higher the alcohol content goes. So it won't be a sweet wine if you like a Moscato or a Sangria or something. It's going to be really dry. So you're going to have to add sugar water at the end. And so you can use like agave syrup. And this will do like 3 batches, 3 6-gallon batches easily. Just melt it with about a half gallon of water. So the ratio, if you use white sugar, is 2 cups of sugar to 1 cup of water, and you boil it to make a simple syrup. But I wouldn't really worry about that. I just take a small pot of water, add your sugar, add your agave syrup or whatever. Keep in mind, agave syrup is 1.4 times stronger in sweetness than white regular sugar. So add that in there. Taste it first before you add the sugar, then add it to your own sweetness, and then you bottle it up. Before you've done that, you have added your cammed in tablets. I didn't really show this, but they look like aspirin. So a 5 to 6 gallon container takes 5 of these. You take 2 teaspoons, and you crush them up. You just pour them in there after you've racked the wine the first or second or third time or whatever. But before you bottle it, I would do this a day before you bottle it. And that will prevent the yeast from reactivating, because when you add sugar later, you might have the yeast reactivate. If that happens, you might wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and have one of your wine bottles pop a cork and spray wine all over your floor, and it's going to be a complete mess. You're going to have ants everywhere, and if it's on your carpet, you're really going to have problems. So it's pretty simple to do. Just check it out, take your time, watch some other videos, and definitely talk to the people at your local distillery store. I use a grog.